Welcome to the Gospel Triangle. The scriptures tell us that in the beginning, God created all things, and He created them good. And God created you and I, and He declared us to be very good. He placed us in a perfect garden to enjoy a perfect relationship with Him. But obviously, what we're experiencing in this life right now is not perfect. So what happened? Genesis 3 tells us that though God had given us direction and this perfect place, we chose to break with God, breaking from His direction, breaking from His commands. And when we broke with God, sin entered creation, and all creation broke too. And this isn't just an Adam and Eve problem. Ecclesiastes 7:20 goes on to say that there is not a righteous man in all the earth who does what is right and never sins. You and I have broken with God too. You and I have sinned against God, rejecting His direction, choosing our own. This is bad news. And it gets worse because Romans tells us in the New Testament that not only have we sinned, but when we sinned, we became slaves to sin, bound by sin, constrained by it, and all of creation is groaning under its weight. It's the bad news. But there's good news. The good news of the gospel is that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5:8. That God came in pursuit of us. Though we had broken with Him, He pursued us. And Jesus went to the cross on our behalf. He lived a perfect life that we could not live. And He took the cross in our place, taking our sin and exchanging our sin for His righteousness so that we might be called children of God. When we place our faith in Him, the scriptures say that we are justified. Justification is this work of God where He declares us right or righteous. Romans says we're justified when we place our faith in Him. And Jesus declares us right. God declares us right because of Jesus. And this upward relationship that once was broken is now mended. But the good news doesn't end there. Jesus sends to us His Spirit to live inside of us and do a work in us. Paul says in 2 Corinthians 4, verse 16, that though our outer bodies, our outer man is wasting away, we are being renewed day by day. The brokenness, the desires, the temptations that we still struggle with, Jesus promises His Spirit is slowly doing a work of transforming us from the inside out and conforming us to the image of Jesus. The scriptures call this sanctification. This work of sanctification is God maturing us slowly over the course of a lifetime so that we look more like Jesus, less like ourselves. But the good news doesn't end there. The same Spirit that came and dwells in us is now sending us out because God desires to do a work not just in us, but in the world. Paul says in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verses 18 to 20, that God is doing a reconciling work in the world. He has given us the message of reconciliation, and He has called us to be ambassadors, the hands and feet of Jesus, to reach the world and point them back to God. This is God's work of reconciliation. This reconciling work that not only reconciles us to each other, but it's a reconciling work where God is drawing the world back to Himself through grace and truth visible in us, that we would point men to Jesus so that they might know that He has died for their sins. They might be filled with His Spirit, sanctified in Him, and then sent as His ambassadors so that more would know. Justification. That through Jesus, when we place our faith in Him, we are made right with God. The upward is restored. Sanctification, that through the Holy Spirit, we are renewed day by day, inwardly becoming a new man and woman. And reconciliation. That God is sending us out into the world so that all men would know and all would come to see him for his goodness in sending Jesus to us. This is the gospel triangle.